We are having electrical issues. The battery, nothing. 11.91. It's sparking up a storm. So it's charging 17.24. 3 fuses that operates the system. A parasitic draw can come. Around, go the other way, 6.6. See, the readings are completely different. No spark. Alright, we got 14.12. It's not reading a ground nowhere. Only time will tell. Working. My wife is always working hard. I hope you got a hard-working wife too. Looking good, ready for the car show. Hey, welcome back to Fixing Things. We are having electrical issues on the Mihal truck. So today, we're gonna see what we can do about finding out what's wrong with the electrical issues. And what's happening is the battery is going dead literally overnight. I mean literally overnight. So we're gonna diagnose what's going wrong with the Mihal truck. Let's see, will it start? All right, it's been sitting for about a week. Let's make sure it's in neutral. Nothing. Does your vehicle do that when you turn the key? Nothing. That means you got a problem. I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, you need a new battery, Pastor Bill. And it's possible. I might need a new battery. But it may be something else. There's something that's going on, and if you watched my last video, I talked about this. Some of this video is actually already been diagnosed. But we're heading at it kind of backwards here, just to for your purposes. What to do when your battery goes dead overnight. So let's open up the Mihal truck and see what's going on. All right, so we already know that the battery is dead. It probably only has like 7 or 8 volts, or if that. It's been sitting a week. So what we're going to do is charge this battery up and see if it even takes a charge. All right, so I put the battery cables on it on my other truck and let it run for about 20 minutes. And let's see what the condition of the battery is in. Oh, is that my wife? Yep, my wife. And the conditions of the battery is 11.91. That is not enough. This battery was at about 6 volts. What does that tell me? It's not doing good. So what I'm going to do is take off my positive battery thingy. And oh, yeah. it's sparking up a storm. So there's definitely a heavy draw. Hey, babe. Now, if you feel your battery is just not taking a charge like you think it should, remember when a battery gets low, it has issues. So what I like to do is use one of these little jump starters and put it on boost. Not to start it, but to give the battery, so it says ready to jump start. Hit the boost button. And you can hear it clicking. She's putting juice in there. Except for when the thing jumps off. So she's popping away. We're going to let that cook like this and let it also charge with the other truck. All right, so we let this battery cook for almost an hour now. And you can hear the Go Low Turbo Series is still clicking, putting high voltage into the battery. So we're going to take this off now. Now, believe it or not, this method will bring around a battery that won't take a charge. It'll cause all those juices to hyper cook inside there and remix where it's supposed to be. Now we're up to about 12.5. We're going to see if the truck will start, and we'll see what the condition of the alternator's in. See, shouldn't spark that big. Let's start this thing up. All right, this started right up with your amp meter, not your amp meter, your multimeter set on 20 volts. It's always good to get you a good quality multimeter. We'll see what the alternator is putting out. Now, just because your alternator is putting out does not mean that it's good. Whoa, I got a problem. So it's charging 17.24. That's an issue. Alternators normally charge out with the regulator around 14.5 to 14.8. If it's charging at 13 volts or 12 volts or 17 volts, you either got a regulator problem or you got a diode problem in your alternator. So we're seeing an issue with the regulator. So we should have already had quite a bit of data to figure out what's going on. All right, let's go ahead and take the... Yep, it should not be making that big a spark. And I know what some of y'all are thinking. Well, yeah, but the vehicle takes a certain amount of electricity. Some vehicles take a certain amount of electricity. Now this vehicle here probably has a 0.05 amp draw on a battery all the time. If you were to not to start this vehicle within 2 months, the battery will probably won't have enough juice to start it. My F350, also about a 0.05 amp draw on the battery. This Chrysler Town & Country, it has even more amp draw because there's security systems, computers operating in them, and all these newer vehicles. This is a 2014. It has a gazillion fuses in it. Got about 100 fuses in my F350. And this got about 4 gazillion fuses. I mean, it's got a fuse for everything in it. It's got all kinds of computers, all kinds of stuff that runs all the time. Even if you let this vehicle sit for 1 month, the battery will be dead. But see this 1973 Pinto? There is 0 amp draws on the battery at any given time. 0 amp draws. You know why? Because there's no digital equipment running after the vehicle's been shut off. This is a 1973 F600. It has 3 fuses that operates the system. When this system is shut down, there is 0 amp draws. Now, if you remember, I put an aftermarket radio in this thing. And yes, this aftermarket radio has a slight parasitic draw. So I also had a trickle charger on it, and the amp draw coming continually out of the charge out of the battery drawing down was more significant than this. It also, I tested the parasitic draw on a thing. So what I did was, so I unplugged that yellow wire. That's the constant power to the radio, and left the battery hooked up to the battery terminals. And overnight the battery went down. That tells me the parasitic draw that was doing that was not in the radio. Now there is a parasitic draw on that radio. That's the only thing that should be given a parasitic draw. So what is that telling me? That means it's in something else. Now a parasitic draw won't come from your regulator. Won't come from your regulator. A parasitic draw can come from your alternator. And that's because there's a diode. The diode is a mechanism that allows current to only go in one way. That way it doesn't discharge. So the alternator is hooked directly to the battery. If the diode in that alternator is not working, it's going to draw the battery down. If I was to hook this battery back up to it, it would draw down. How do you know that? Because it's making a bit. It shouldn't. If there's no draw, there's no arc. No draw, no arc. If there's an arc, there's a draw. Now you can run a test with a multimeter and do all that kind of stuff. It's going to tell you the same thing. Sometimes old school techniques are the best. If I was going to on this vehicle here, and if I was going to try to trace down the parasitic draw on the system, normally what's happening is a wire got pinched, or the radio is busted or something. The radio in my F350 that I put in, I purchased the cheapest radio, Kenwood radio on eBay. It was like $10. And I installed it, and it sounded great. Guess what? That radio caused the batteries to go bad in the truck. Now I got the new batteries in it, and I got the radio unhooked. We're going to be putting a new radio in, not today. But the parasitic draw, when I pulled the radio out, the bottom of the radio was hot. So that tells me there's a short inside that radio. This radio is brand new. It's working just fine. With the yellow cable hooked up before, the batteries were working great. It didn't start doing this issue, the discharging, until we had I start driving it on the road. And see, the thing is, these old alternators, take two. Helicopter, helicopter. So the thing is, after the vehicle's been sitting for years and years and years, the windings and everything, it's got dirt on them, the bearings, the brushes, and all that stuff. These old alternators got brushes in them. They don't like to turn no more, and they may work when you first fire them up, and then all of a sudden they stop working, and the brushes will, stuff like that will burn up the diode in it, and all of a sudden the alternator is not working right no more. One of the symptoms of diodes being not working is it undercharging. You'll see like 12.8, 12.5, 13.7. That is meaning that it's not charging correctly, because it should be at about 14.5 volts, 14.8, right in there. 17 point something tells me something else happened. The regulator got burned up because the diode is not working no more. So when the diode is not working, it's throwing alternating current into the regulator, not DC. The regulator is designed to handle DC current, not alternating current. So what's happening is we're getting alternating current in the battery. So on my gauge in the truck, it has the battery gauge as charge, discharge, right? It doesn't show 12 volts. So when you first start the vehicle up, it should move right over to charge, right? And then come right down to the center when it's normal. And as you get going, it needs more electricity, it goes back to charge. If it goes to discharge, it means your alternator is not charging. That's what it means. It's not a condition of the battery, is it charging or not? It's the charging system. So what's happening is it's getting alternating current. It's doing charging, discharging, charging, discharging. On your meter, it's going to show straight up and down. On the dashboard, it's going to show straight up and down. On my multimeter, it was showing 17.35 volts, 17.8. A lot of volts. And alternators can kick up more than that. They can kick up to 100 and something volts. You rev the motor up. You don't want, you'll burn the battery up. The battery will catch on fire, and you don't want that. So what's going on? I got two issues that I've just solved. It needs an alternator, and it needs a regulator. What does that mean, Pastor Bill? That means all you good mechanics out there just learned something, right? Yeah, you could have put the amp meter between the battery and the thing, and it would have showed you that you had a parasitic draw. Clicking on the terminal shows you got, and then you see sparks. Now, it's true. On this vehicle, even with the motor shut off, when you take the terminal off, it's going to show a very small spark, a very small click. On this truck, it shouldn't spark at all. Zero, especially with the yellow wire from the radio taken off of it. So we're going to put the battery's holding charge. The battery's doing good. I know that because I tested it before I did the draw test on it the second time. I charged it up, unhooked the battery. The battery kept a 12.8 volt charge overnight. So unhooked, it's not drawn down. The battery's in good shape. Let's put an alternator on this thing. All right, so I got the alternator off. Now we can get to these bolts, the nuts that holds the wiring on. So this alternator hadn't been off in a long time, and one of the problems you run into is this is aluminum and this is steel, and they oxidize together. This thing was a booger getting off. So I just worked it in, worked it out, put PB Blaster in and out, and finally I took the hammer and the Wonder Bar, put it on there and smacked it and finally got it loose. But the alternator, I didn't hear it there, but when I had it out here, yeah, not sounding too kosher. But now I should have easy access getting all these things off. So we'll get to working at all those. Always when you're looking at alternators and you're putting new parts on, you want to match up your new part with your old part. And you want to make sure your connectors are the same. And it looks like all our connectors are the same. They're in a different location, but they're the same. If I was to turn it this way, that's okay. That means the wires are going to be flopped. Alright, with the alternator completely disconnected, we can check the diode in it. And if we go from here to here, now let's go from here to here. That's good. 6 point. When we turn it around, go the other way, 6.6. Look at that. See, the readings are completely different. And I should be reading 6 point something. So we know that this alternator is bad. So the diode is jacked up inside this one. Alright, let's hook this thing up. Alright, we got the wires all back on. There's no wire for this one and it was working before. But what I want to do, so this don't happen again, we're going to put some anti-seize on this bolt right through here. So the next time I got to take it off, it comes off okay. Now people have already noticed that this isn't regular anti-seize, okay? Yeah, you're right. This is actually caliper grease, brake quiet, synthetic, but it's got anti-seize in it. and I use this for all my anti-seize lubricant things because it's made for high heat. All right, now it's ready to go back together. We'll get our belts on. So I got a brand new one, short circuit protected. I don't know if that's real or not, but I think it's time to get the battery in. I'll put our water lines back on. No sparks. I got a bolt for that. My test ride must have vibrated out. You get a bolt, get that in there, tighten that one up, and we'll start it up. All right, we got 14.12. It's exactly right in where it should be. So now we see it's not sparking when we put the battery terminal on because it's not reading a ground nowhere, right? When the diode is bad, battery terminal sparks. This is not true on newer vehicles, only on older vehicles. So, but newer systems, I don't know why they do that. They can put little batteries and stuff like that in systems so you don't have to have parasitic draws. But that's what they do because they figure you're going to be driving the vehicle every day and it's not sitting like this one. So what I did was this one is I put a little battery charger, solar battery charger on it to keep the battery toasted off. Also on my F350 dually. I got little solar battery charger on that. I also have one for the me-haul truck because these vehicles I don't drive every day. My motorcycles are all hooked up on my charger. This bike, and this bike are all hooked up on my charger on the wall. Only time will tell. Tomorrow, when I get up in the morning, and if the truck don't start, but I think it will. It's even running smoother. The ignition likes the current that's going through it. The coil doesn't like to get hot. The thing's just, it's running better. It's running the way it's supposed to. 17.5, 17.8 is overcharging. The other day was charging it like 13, like right at 13. It tells me it's flip-flopping around. Is on discharge. Right now, it's slightly on charge on the gauge. It's working. So remember, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. The me-haul truck is working. I got to put me some straps on the hood. I got to do me some other stuff. I got the license plate light to put on. I can do that without you guys, right? You guys can understand. I'll just show you when I get it done. All right. God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you on the next Fixing Things with Pastor Bill. My wife, she's working hard today. My wife is always working hard. I hope you got a hard-working wife, too. She likes to see me work hard. Yesterday, I was sick. Today, a me-haul truck is running, working hard today. I also worked on the Bumblebee. Got it working today for her too, because she likes her Bumblebee working. God bless you. I'll see you on the next Fixing Things with Pastor Bill. Man, I can't wait to drive this thing down the road now. That thing's looking good, ready for the car show. That's what I'm talking about. All right.